What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/TalesOfNeckbeards. This story's called, "My brother-in-law says I should divorce my husband because he doesn't spoil me." Alrighty, let's go. My husband, who we will call Dean, age 23, has 3 brothers. 2 older, ages 30 and 26, and 1 younger, age 18. This story is about his younger brother, who we will call Beard. Beard just graduated from high school and is the absolute definition of a neckbeard. The guy seriously wore a trench coat under his graduation gown, and I'm sure if he could have, he would have worn a fedora instead of his graduation cap. He's into anime, death metal, and My Little Pony. You get the idea. Beard has always had a thing for me ever since I met him. I was 18 at that time and he was 15, but that didn't seem to bother him, and he would constantly make flirtatious remarks towards me despite me being his brother's girlfriend. He would often comment on my body, telling me that a woman with your figure deserves to be worshipped like a goddess, and that if Dean wasn't cutting it for me, he was happy to fill in the gaps. I ignored him, thinking that he was just a kid trying to seem cool. It only got worse. Dean and I got married after only dating for 6 months. Crazy, I know. I had just turned 19 when we got married. Beard was not happy about this. He was constantly telling Dean that it wasn't too late to leave me and that I was too good for him and deserved better. Dean was used to his brother, so he just brushed him off. Beard went crying to his mommy. Enter crazy mother-in-law. We'll call her Joan. Being the youngest of her children, Beard was babied by his mom for all of his life. So when he went crying to her, she immediately started in on Dean, telling him that he should give me to Beard. What? Despite the fact that Dean and I had just gotten married. Joan expected Dean to just hand me over to his little brother like I was an action figure and they were taking turns. We shut that down pretty fast. Things returned back to normal after that, Beard still making comments about me and my body and how Dean was no good for me. Throughout my pregnancy, he made comments about how pregnant women turned him on, that they were the ultimate prize or some crap. All of this in front of Dean, who simply just said, "Stop talking," over and over until he stopped because we aren't confrontational. That all changed last night though. So currently, Dean and I and our baby Squish are living with my parents in an effort to escape Joan's wrath. There's a story there posted to Just No Mother-in-Law, but Dean's brothers stop by so often to visit, help out, and stuff because they're all really close. So last night, Beard comes over and it's just me and Squish because everyone else was out. Beard sat uncomfortably close to me and put his arm on the couch behind me. My eyes were practically watering from the smell coming off of him. "Where's Dean? It's not very nice to leave such a beautiful woman alone." He's out. And I'm not alone. Squish is sleeping in our room. He said, and turned his attention to the TV. We sat in uncomfortable silence as we watched TV. I caught him staring at me every so often and playing with my hair. After a while, he took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and turned to face me. "OP, can I be honest with you?" Oh, gods. Sure. "I've been in love with you from the moment you came through my front door. You're truly the most beautiful woman in the world, and I want you to feel special. Dean doesn't deserve you. He doesn't spoil you enough. If you were mine, I would give you everything you wanted and would always be here with you. So, what do you say?" Me, completely at a loss for words. He then pulls a ring out of his pocket as he gets on one knee next to the couch. "Marry me, OP. Please, make me the happiest man alive. Marry me." Dean must have shown up sometime during his speech because he pulled Beard up by the neck and his trench coat and turned him around so they were facing each other. "What do you think you're doing?" "I'm saving her from you. You're not good enough for her. She deserves better." Dean, still holding onto his coat, proceeds to push Beard to the door. "I don't want to see you here anymore. OP is my wife, understand? She is mine. You will never get her, ever. Understand? Never." Dean slammed the door behind Beard and turned to me before joining me on the couch. Beard called a couple of times and left voicemails apologizing to me while still being creepy and calling me a goddess. After the third call, Dean threatens to call the cops, which seemed to shut him down. In conclusion, Beard is no longer welcome at my parents' house or around me, and Dean standing up to him the way he did may have been the single sexiest thing he has ever done. Sorry, Beard, you're never gonna get me. Okay, I can safely say that guy is a literal scumbag. Okay, literal in the sense that he's, basically a bag of scum, because he's smelly and gross. And also because of his scumbaggish behavior, and also trying to steal his brother's wife very creepily and unsuccessfully, thankfully. Wow, lots of adverbs. This story's called When a Ranked Player Hits on a Casual. The setting. Walking through the food court at your community college, you see an attractive girl playing a game on her laptop. This is a game you used to play and have a lot of experience in, and you really want to talk to her. So you figure that it'll serve as a good point of conversation to open a dialogue between you two. Great, lovely, totally acceptable if executed correctly and respectfully. This is what he thinks happened. You initiate the conversation by tapping on her shoulder and referencing how old and played out the game is. She takes out an earbud and gives you a look that seems responsive, so you ask about what deck she plays. Having no experience with these particular decks and noticing that she's only stage 12 and probably doesn't know any better, you decide to dazzle her by describing your competitive decks in great detail, eventually commandeering her laptop to show her your builds and how to get them. After a while of explaining your superior tactics and expedient duel victories, from which she's surely impressed and soaking wet, she says she doesn't play competitive and isn't really interested in dragon decks. What? What does that even mean? Surely you've misheard her. Winning is the whole point of the game, right? She'll never win like that. You ask her why, but are too dumbfounded to hear her response. Something about insects or plants or some other weak build. You shake it off and, in a last-ditch effort, claim that you've never played competitive either, but in ranked, you are Legend 3 tier, maintaining your dignity but appearing relatable. Nice catch. Time to relate it back to the real world so you can get her number. You decide to tell her that you deleted the game a long time ago because winning got too tedious. This will emphasize to her that, again, you were an incredible player, but being so much better than everyone else became boring and you became too busy and important to continue dealing out ass whoopings every day. She nods, speechless, clearly astounded. You scrap the number idea for now because clearly she'll seek you out when she wants to start playing seriously, and it's better to make her come to you. You play it cool as you make your exit, claiming friends are waiting for you. Friends are impressive, right? As you slowly walk away from her, you make sure to eye her up and down so you can locate her later and continue this flirtation. This feels like a victory, and if she doesn't seek you out in the next few days, you'll find her again. What actually happened? You're sitting in the food court at school, minding your own business, playing a game on your laptop instead of working on the paper you have due tomorrow, when all of a sudden, you feel a tap on the shoulder. You turn and take out an earbud, as is customary, and a kinda nerdy but normal-looking dude you've never seen before just points at your laptop and says, "I remember that game, it's so broken now." Not knowing what to say and still being mid-duel, you just say something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, I still like it though," and go to finish. He asks what deck you're using, so you, still trying to avoid homework and genuinely open to conversation, tell him. He clearly has no idea what sylvan plants are, so you ask him what he used, and oh boy, that was a mistake. He immediately goes into detail about all the elements of his hyper-meta Stardust Dragon deck. What cards to use and which boxes to buy from and how to play your hand, the works. He tells you he thinks you're new at this because he asks you if you know how to synchro summon. You keep trying to interject and tell him that despite your low level, you actually had to delete the app from your phone due to overuse, and technically playing on Steam was a relapse. But you can't get a word in edgewise. Great, he wants to teach you how to play. Suddenly, this strange man puts his hands on your laptop in order to show you his build in the catalog. You're generally polite and tolerant, but now you're kinda mad and very uncomfortable. And it takes everything in your body to not reach out and break his arm. Minutes go by and he continues to talk about his OP deck, leaving no room for response. When an opening finally presents itself, you tell him that you're not competitive and don't play dragons. This apparently throws him for a loop because his face goes totally blank and all he says is, "Why?" You proceed to tell him that you mainly play plants and insects because of your hobbies in real life and are interested in collecting whole sets and seeing how they were designed to complement each other. His face does not change and he blurts out that he used to play casually too. Okay, sure. In an awkward attempt to save the conversation, he returns to the fact that he no longer plays the game and goes on to give the reasons. Winning had become boring and the quality of the game was trash. Wow, what a thing to say to someone who is currently playing that very game. At this point, you're just tired and waiting for him to finish talking, but he goes on to describe how he would win every duel within 5 turns. Eventually, he stops, and you facilitate an awkward pause in order to emphasize the depth of the discussion. He takes the hint and goes to back away, citing some friends were waiting for him. As you turn back to your laptop, you feel eyes on you and look back to catch him creepily running his gaze down the length of your body. You shudder, return to your game, and try not to think about what just happened. You really start to feel bad for women when you, genuinely put these stories into perspective and just imagine yourself in that place. Like, that conversation sounds terribly grating, and that whole looking up and down thing, that's just creepy, man. Like, what is he thinking? Because I know for a fact of some... That's just weird, man. These neckbeards in these stories are this weird form of socially awkward where they don't know they're socially awkward, and they just come off as these overly confident weirdos that just don't take hints at all. Alright, I have a question for the women in the comment section. How often do y'all get those weird stare downs where you just see these weird guys just looking you up and down like this guy did? And what do you think when you see people staring at you like that? And also, how have your thoughts changed over time when you see this sort of stuff happen? This story's called Neckbeard Follows Me Around School and Calls My Boyfriend Cruel. I don't know if this counts as a true Neckbeard encounter, but hey, I hope you enjoy it. I met our Neckbeard, who we'll call Harold, a senior, at the bus stop the first day of sophomore year. He was the only other person waiting with me, so I immediately picked up conversation as I'm an extremely social person. The first thing I noticed about him was how almost intimidating he was, but I brushed it off. I spent 20 minutes learning all about him. He loves anime and acted totally appalled when I said I never really got into any. I don't remember a lot of what we talked about, but it was mostly about himself. As I was getting on the bus, he noticed the pins on my backpack. I'm an openly gay male, and my backpack has several pins dedicated to pride. Conversation went as follows. "You like guys?" "Yeah, why?" "Oh, I do too. I'm bi. I've never met anyone else who's LGBT." I thought this was weird because I come from a pretty accepting town. There are tons of kids in my school openly exploring their sexual orientation and gender. Well, now you have. As he sat down beside me, I smelled him. Before, we had a good 12 inches between us, but now I was practically being pushed in his lap. I didn't mention it, of course, and we kept talking. At some point, I told him that I'm not usually on the bus because my boyfriend, Zimbabwe, drives and has taken me to school since we met freshman year. Harold was furious. He said something along the lines of, "I can't believe he would just leave you stranded like that. That's so disrespectful. If I had a boyfriend like you, I'd treat him the way he deserves to be treated. I'm getting a car soon so I can drive you whenever he acts like such an ass." I interrupted him before he could go on. Harold, relax. Zimbabwe's not being mean. He's sick," I said, a little bit irritated by the reaction. He snapped at me about having attitude because he wasn't like my asshat of a boyfriend. But this time, the bus had stopped at the middle school and most of the kids had gotten off, so I switched seats. We'll call the girl I met when I moved seats Shy. Shy was a really sweet and quiet freshman. She ended up becoming best friend. When Shy and I got to school, she said she was scared because she didn't know where her classes were. I brought her to her first class, then headed to art. I guess Harold was just waiting because the second I was alone again, he suddenly popped up behind me. "Hey," he said, seemingly forgetting about our little argument. I decided to do the same. "Hi!" He was about to say something, then one of my friends who had gym, I forgot to mention that the gym is beside the art room. Anyway, my friend came to walk with me, which wasn't uncommon because my social circle is pretty big, so I'm never really left alone. I introduced them to each other, and Harold just glared when she said hi. We started talking about this guy that she liked, and if I thought he was cute. I tried to include Harold in the conversation by asking if he knew the guy, but he stayed silent every time I spoke to him. For the rest of the day, he followed my friends and I around silently. This was pretty creepy and made my friends feel uncomfortable, but I just brushed it off. A few weeks later, Zimbabwe was picking me up again, so I no longer had to deal with Harold in the mornings. I spent almost all of my time with Zimbabwe outside of class, so he didn't bother me much at all. I had stayed after school for National Honor Society. I left the classroom a little bit later than the other students because I wanted to talk to the teacher in charge about a fine arts school I wanted to go to. Zimbabwe, being the sweetheart that he is, told me he'd wait for me to finish and drive me home if I wanted him to. I told him no, that I was fine. I wanted to walk home that day and stop at the park or something. As I was walking home, guess who I run into? Harold asked if he could walk home with me since we lived on the same street. I hate rejecting people, so I said sure. We walked in silence for a moment, then he asked me why I was getting home so late. I explained that I'm in National Honor Society. "Oh, so you must be pretty smart, huh? That's hot." I frowned and glanced at him. Thanks? He kept talking about how smart guys were hot and how kids with glasses are always geniuses. Each comment getting more and more inappropriate. Then he reached in to kiss me. I shoved him away as hard as I could. "Harold, I don't want to be mean, but you're 17 and I just turned 15. I am not comfortable with acting like this to somebody who's nearly a legal adult. Also, I have a boyfriend. We've already gone over this. I don't mind being your friend, but I don't want anything more. Okay? Please." The smirk on his face turned into a scowl, and he stalked away after muttering about Zimbabwe being a junior, leaving me confused and nervous. The next day, Shai said to me immediately, "Harold talked to me about Zimbabwe. I'm so sorry." Shai looked like she was about to cry. "What? What are you talking about?" "About how Zimbabwe hit you. Harold said you were walking home sobbing and he tended to you. He said you two kissed." When I tell you I saw red, I saw red. I quickly explained that none of that happened and outlined the actual occurrences. After we were let off the bus, I talked to Zimbabwe and told him what happened. He was pissed. He went to find Harold. Despite me almost begging him not to, I followed behind. He went up and tapped Harold on the shoulder. When he turned around, Zimbabwe punched him square in the face. I was frozen in my spot as a crowd gathered around them. Zimbabwe started kicking, punching, beating the crap out of him.
"Don't even look at us again, Benj. If you do, I swear to freaking God, I'll..."
Before he could finish his sentence, he was pulled away by two teachers. I had never seen Zimbabwe act like that before, so I was pretty much crying. I was taken to guidance to calm down. Harold never spoke to me again. Zimbabwe and I are still dating, and he always apologizes for me having to see him get so angry. But that's my Neckbeard experience. I have a few more if anybody wants to hear them. Okay, first off, this story was really good. I've never thought of neckbeards for guys. You'd figure that guys wouldn't need to neckbeard for other guys because, if we're being honest, we're pretty easy. Well, anyways, Harold definitely got his attitude adjusted. Good job, Zimbabwe. And sorry I picked Zimbabwe. That was just the first Z thing that came to mind, despite my name starting with a Z. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.